Good morning, everybody. Welcome back for another practice. So whenever you're ready, find your way to your seated position on your mat, and we'll start with some breathing practices. Whenever you've got that posture, then just sit up tall, close your eyes for a little bit, and redirect your focus to your breath. And for a little while, just pay close attention to your inhales and your exhales. And then breathing through your nose, make your inhales as long and as slow as possible. Hold your breath at the top until it becomes slightly uncomfortable. And whenever it's time to exhale, make your exhale as long and as slow as possible. So over and over again, same pattern. Large inhales, long breath retentions, and long exhales. Turn that over to you for a little bit so you can self-pace. Every time you hold your breath, let your mind clear. Be able to hold your breath for a bit longer. Try it on the next breath retention. Then for the moment, return to normal inhales and exhales for a little bit. And just pay close attention to your breath. And join your hands together in a prayer at your chest and bring to mind someone you would like to dedicate today's practice to. And mentally, send your person some good energy. All right, when you're ready, open your eyes. So sometimes when I practice yoga, my wrists get a little sensitive and some pre-stretching is helpful. So let's do that together to start. So reach your arms all the way forward and turn your thumbs down so that your palms face out. Cross one hand over top of the other, it doesn't matter which, and interlace your fingers. I'll go slow with this, but once you've done so, spin your thumbs toward your throat. You can stop at any spot where you find a nice twist in your wrists. And if you can draw your forearms to vertical, try that and you'll get a really solid rotation. Rotation will help to release some of the tension or the muscles surrounding. Now loop your thumbs back toward your face, unfurl your arms, and then cross the other arm over. Interlace your hands and rotate your thumbs toward your chin. If your arms sort of stop down here, that's totally okay. You can rotate a little further and slowly do so, and try to take your forearms to vertical another time. You sit up tall, just let your shoulders slide down your back toward your waist. Now release that one, just give your hands a momentary shake. Reach your right arm forward. I'll do my left so it looks like we're doing the same thing. Let your fingertips hang down near the ground. And then just grab a hold of the top of your hand and pull your fingers back toward you to stretch the uppermost portion of your right arm. And then the same in the other direction. Spin your left fingertips down, or whichever arm you've not done so far. Press on the hand a little bit to stretch all the muscles in your uppermost forearm. And then to get the other side, spin your fingers down with palms facing forward. Grab a hold of the fingertips and press the heel of your hand forward. And then the same posture over there on the other side. Should get a good solid stretch to the forearm itself. All right, next up, some warm-ups for your spine. So step back to cat-cow create position and then pause with your shoulders directly over your wrists. Round your back with your exhales. Arch your spine with your inhales. And take a few rounds of that just to get everything moving. If it helps you to slow down your breath, you can always make it sound a little bit like Darth Vader. Now bring your torso back to a somewhat more neutral position. Shift your hips back to your heels for a child's pose to stretch the tops of your feet. Walk your hands way over to the right. And for the next few moments, just use that to open up some space in the side of your spine. Deep breaths again. Walk your hands off for the same posture on the other side over there. And then a spinal twist. So come back to the four-pointed kneeling position. It's always a good one. Thread the needle. Reach your right arm out to the side. Sweep your right arm across your midline. And then drop your shoulder all the way down to the floor. If you're comfortable with it, take the side of your head to the earth. And just use that to passively twist your spine. Press down through your hand and come all the way back up. Reach your left arm all the way out to your side. Thread the needle again by sweeping your arm across. Once your shoulder and your head have come down to the floor, just relax and breathe deeply another time. Now press all the way back up. Once you've come to your four-pointed kneeling position, swing your right leg all the way up to the front of your mat, your left leg a little further backwards, and then this time, since you're still getting warmed up in your hip flexors and hamstrings, just keep your arms straight. Let your hips drop down and forward toward the front of the mat until you feel stretch in the front of your right leg and some stretch in the hamstrings of your front leg. If you want to decrease the stretch, lift your hips a bit higher. And if you would like to increase the stretch, just sink your hips lower. Now lift your hips a bit so you can easily swing your leg back. Take the other one all the way forward and make sure you slide your rear leg far enough back so that you feel stretch in the front of that leg. And with your hands placed, let your hips sink down and forward toward the front of your mat. And really hug your knee into your side as you hold there. A little shoulder shrug isn't the biggest deal here, but try to slide your shoulders toward your belt to elongate your neck. Heavy, heavy hips. Let them sink down. And now lift your hips upwards and backwards. Swing back to the four-pointed kneeling stance. With your toes curled under behind, lift your hips upward in the air for the down dog. With your legs initially still bent, press your chest toward your legs and drop your chin down a little bit so the back of your neck feels long. And then come all the way up to the very tips of your toes to elongate your legs. And press your heels down toward the floor very slowly until you feel some stretching going down in the backs of your legs. And then just breathe for the next few moments. Hold and maintain. Deepen your inhales, deepen your exhales. And slowly allow your heels to press closer to the earth beneath. If you want to deepen, press your right heel down a little harder. Take your left toes to the back of the right ankle and just sort of press down a little bit to deepen the stretch there. In some ways, it kind of feels like both feet were on a water ski. And take that foot back down to the ground. Initially press your heel nearer the earth. Use your toes to press the heel closer to the floor again. Amazing calf stretch this. And use your next inhale to roll to a plank position. Once you have, lower all the way down to your belly. Slide the base of your ribs a bit further forward, and then lift your chest off the ground. Lift your hands off the ground. Stretch back through your toes till your legs lift off the floor, and just keep squeezing your shoulders all the way backwards and together as you maintain and hold. Definitely hard to breathe while your belly is being compressed, but even so, try to breathe deeply. And give it all just a little bit more upward lift, and come all the way back down. Plant your hands near the bottom rim of your ribs. Lift upwards through your chest. Stretch back through your toes. And then from there, press to an up dog with your knees either up or down on the floor. And the down dog stretch with your next exhale. A few rounds of deep breath. All right, take a look forward and then step or jump all the way up to the front of your mat. Come up to your fingertips once you've landed there. Forward fold with your exhale. Use your inhale to sweep all the way up to standing. Grab a hold of your right wrist with your left hand, pull up to that arm, and bend your torso to the left-hand side of the room that you're in. If possible, gaze straight up under your armpit to the sky. Well, the next time you inhale, come all the way back up. Grab a hold of your left wrist with the right hand, pull up, tuck your ribs down just a little bit in the front so you compact, and tip your torso right this time around. Gaze upward under the armpit to the sky. And use your next inhale to come all the way back up. Take your hands together in a prayer near your chest. Bend your legs, and then twisting off to your right, cross your left elbow completely over your leg. Press your hands together and rotate your spinal column open to your sideways for now. I like to look up. Look sideways, upward, or down. And the next time you breathe in, sweep your arms all the way up overhead. With your hands joined together in a prayer, rotate, spin off for the same posture on the other side, and just gaze in approximately a similar direction to what you did before. Next time you breathe in, sweep your arms all the way back up. Straighten out your legs to stand up nice and tall. And take your hands to your hips and then heel toe your feet apart until they're separated by hips distance. Squeeze your elbows back, shift your hips forward. Lift up to the base of your ribs and take a back bend with an inhale. Hinging from your hips, fold forward with your exhale. Take your fingers to the ground. If it helps, you can bend your knees. Walk your fingertips even further forward toward the front of your mat so they're well ahead of your collarbones and face. Shift some weight back toward your heels. At a minimum, lift your toes up off the ground, like you're lifting them away from hot coals. If you want to go further, lift the balls of your feet completely off the ground so you're only balanced on your fingertips and your heels. And keep breathing as you hold. Lift your collarbones and your chest ever so slightly. And take your feet all the way back down. Plant your palms firmly upon the floor, bending your knees if it helps. Step all the way back to the high push-up position. Lower down through chaturanga. And then breathe in for the upward dog. And breathe all the way out for the downward dog. All right, this time step your right foot forward. Turn your left heel up to the ceiling. And use an inhale to come to the crescent lunge with both arms lifted up. Sweep your arms immediately back near your sides. Lean forward over your front leg. For the next few moments, just keep pressing backwards through your heel as you hold. Try to maintain rib on thigh contact while there. If you want to make it slightly harder, take your arms out to the side so your arms form a T-like shape in relation to your torso. Or extend your arms all the way forward with palms up and lift your arms just a little higher into the air. Square your hips forward by rolling your back hip around and ahead. And then plant your hands, step back to the high push-up position, lower through chaturanga. Inhale for the up dog. Exhale back to the down dog. Lunge your other foot forward. Use an inhale to come all the way up. Take your arms back near your sides. Lean forward till your torso comes nearer the leg. Once you've got rib on thigh contact, just reach your fingertips to slide your shoulders toward the back of your mat and try to maintain your spinal column's length. Next option is to take your arms all the way out to the sides. If you're feeling that whole arms forward thing, give it a shot. And try to keep the base of your ribs on your leg. Lift your arms higher and higher up and take whatever degree of back bend you can. And plant your hands. Step back to the high push-up position. Lower. And then the up dog as you inhale. And the down dog stretch as you exhale. And press out through your hands and down through your heels. And then breathe. And sort of relax and let go a little bit. And open your shoulder joint by pressing your chest toward your knees beneath. This time, take a look forward. Step your right foot all the way up to your thumbs. Turn your back heel down to the ground. Use an inhale to come up to the top for Warrior One. With your torso squared forward, grab a hold of your left wrist and pull up on that arm. Side bend your torso off to your right and press down through your left heel fairly strongly as you hold. Use an inhale to come up. Join your hands together in a prayer. Rotating off to the side. Hook your elbow all the way over the leg down there. Join your hands together in a prayer and rotate your spine to the side. This next one's a bit contorted, so listen close. Place both hands on the floor just inside of your foot and turn your back heel upward in the air. Now grab your right foot, spin it completely out to the right-hand side of your mat. Now we're going to work toward crisscrossing your legs like an X. So start walking your hands to your right so they're near the right side of your mat. Flip onto the blade edge of your front foot. slide onto the blade edge of your back foot so you're effectively on the baby toe side of your feet, and walk your hands even further over to the side. Now once you've got that, just work on straightening your legs a little bit at a time. It's going to give you a huge stretch in your hip and hamstring. Today, tuck your ribs down in the front a little bit and just work on elongating your legs breath by breath by breath. A couple more inhales and exhales. And now bend your right leg. Plant your hands up there near the front of your mat. Step back to the high push-up position and lower down through chaturanga. Up dog on the inhale. And the down dog with an exhale. Step your left foot forward. Turn your back heel all the way down to the earth. Use your inhale to sweep up to warrior one stance, which is the base. Grab a hold of your right wrist. Pull up and tip your rib cage over to the left-hand side for now. Just use that to open up space between your ribs and press down to your right heel thoroughly as you hold. Use an inhale to come back up. You rotate off to the side. Physically hook your right elbow over your leg. Join your hands together in a prayer for a few moments and keep twisting everything to the side. Completely okay to turn your back heel up to the ceiling if you find it's easier to twist like that. Now the next pose is admittedly bizarre, but I love it because it gets your hip and your hamstring. So when you're ready, take both hands down to the earth. Spin your rear heel up, grab a hold of your left foot and turn the toes sideways. Now we're working toward that crisscross position. So walk your hands over to your left as well. Come onto the blade edge of your front foot and the blade edge of your back foot. Now initially it's very helpful to keep your legs really bent, so feel free to bend them as much as necessary as you keep walking your hands to your sides. Tuck your ribs down. From there, start pressing out through your heels to elongate. Slide your shoulder blades toward your belt to elongate your neck also. And keep breathing as you hold and maintain. Breath by breath by breath, just work toward a straighter leg. Now bend your front leg. Windmill your hands around, plant them on the floor. Step back to the high plank position. Lower down through chaturanga. And breathe in for the up dog. And exhale all the way back to the downward facing dog. Long, slow inhales and exhales. For the next few moments, just take note of how much your legs have opened in the pose. And take a look forward. Step your feet all the way up near-ish the front of your mat. Once you're there, come all the way up to your fingertips. Forward fold with your exhale. Use your inhale to sweep all the way up to standing. And initially, join your hands together in a prayer at your chest. All right, today, take your hands to your waist. Draw your left knee all the way up to your chest. Either take your right hand to it or grab the blade edge of your foot with your opposite hand. Now, if that's going well for you, straighten out your leg. Reach your other arm back. And then rotate your chest toward the leg that's either bent or straightened out. Try to keep your bottom leg straight as possible as you continue to twist and spin. And then the same posture on the other side. An opposite hand to opposite knee proposition. So with your hands on your waist, draw your other leg up. Completely okay to take the opposite hand to your knee. If you prefer to reach down and grab the side of your foot, do so. Now from there, if you are grabbing the side of your foot, work toward a straighter leg. Straighten all the way, go for it. Reach the only arm that's not grabbing anything backwards. Tuck your ribs down and rotate your torso off to the side again. And then release, drop your foot all the way back down to the floor beneath. Join your hands together in a prayer for the next few moments. Let your eyes close and redirect all of your focus back to your breath. I'm going to switch my angle so that you can sort of see more clearly what's going on. We're going to practice a crow. So when you're ready, go ahead and squat down deeply on your heels. Now, in general, if your hands are closer, it makes the balance quite a lot harder. You usually want a wide base. So take your hands apart, not only hips distance apart, but maybe even a little bit wider today. Your fingers are like your brakes. So crazy glue your fingers to the floor. Take your knees wider and sort of rotate from one side to the other and try to hike your legs all up onto your arms. Initially, bend your elbows a little bit and lean just a little weight into your hands. Just use that to stretch your inner thigh muscles. You really get most of the functional benefits of the pose through that, so you stay there if you like. Otherwise, lift your hips a bit, rock your shoulder joint forward, and try to find the tips of your toes. Another good stopping point. Crazy glue your fingers to the floor. If you want to make it harder, lift one foot off of the ground or both of them. Just hover there for a little bit. And then take your feet all the way back down to the floor beneath. And when you're ready, move all the way back to the high plank position and lower down to your belly. All right, prop yourself up on your elbows and slide your legs apart till they're wider than your hips. Parallel your left forearm with the front of your mat. Place your right hand in a push-up position and rotate your torso right. There's many different binds you could take for this. Bend your back leg, grab your foot or your pant leg, and pull your heel closer to your hip, which is option 1. Option 2, put your hand on top of the foot with your elbow up, press down on the foot. Or option 3, spin your fingers forward so they face the toes, and just keep downward pressing to stretch your quads. Release out of that one. Parallel your right forearm to the front of your mat. Place your left hand near the base of the ribs. Once you've rotated off to the side, bend your back leg. Reach your hand all the way over the top of your foot, or grab the inner edge of it and pull your heel in. If you can get your hand to the top of the foot, press it down, which will give you more stretch in your ankle up there. Now, if you can spin your fingers around, which isn't altogether necessary, spin them around, and that'll just give you a little bit more pressing power. Now let your foot come all the way back down to the earth. Plant your hands near the bottom of your ribs. Reach your left arm out to the side with your palm facing up. That just helps you avoid hyperextending the elbow. Bend your right leg to stretch your shoulder, physically roll onto the left-hand side of your body. Flip your foot, the right one, over to the floor behind you, and either touch your toes to the earth or your heel to the ground if you can. Just keep twisting and rotating until you feel a good opening right across the front of your chest. And we're all the way back down out of that one. Place your other hand near the base of your ribs. Reach your arm out to the side with your palm facing up. Then bend your leg, left one, flip it all the way over toward the floor behind you. Try to tap your toes to the floor, put your heel on the ground if you're able. Just keep gazing straight up as you continue to twist and spin. Put yourself all the way back down to your belly. Prop yourself up on your elbows so you look like a sphinx. And then press your elbows into the floor to get just a little bit more back bend. Pull backward with your elbows to drag your ribs a bit further forward until it turns into somewhat of a belly stretch. Now if you're feeling the cobra pose, shrug your shoulders up near your ears to lift your elbows. Check into your lower back, and if that feels okay, stay, and otherwise come back down to the sphinx. Now stretch back through your toes to engage your legs. Pull backward with your hands to drag your chest forward a fraction of an inch. Let your shoulders glide down your back and lift your chin. And then roll yourself all the way back down to the floor. Plant your two hands near the bottom of your ribs and curl your toes under and back. You can use your knees if you like. Press from the low push-up to the high push-up. And then drop your knees all the way down to the floor. Shift your hips back just a bit so you're in puppy dog position. You want your thighs to be relatively close to vertical. Doesn't have to be perfect though. Now walk your hands forward, kind of like a down dog with your knees touching the ground. Let your chest and rib cage drop toward the earth. If you can put your forehead or your chin on the floor, take them down. Or you can keep your head lifted if that's more comfortable for you. Now round your spine in order to lift your elbows up. Walk your hands all the way back. Straighten your legs. Lower down through chaturanga. Then inhale for the up dog. Exhale back for the down dog. Now I'm going to step my left foot forward first so I'm facing the camera. When you're ready, take your left foot all the way ahead and then your back knee all the way down to the ground. And grab a hold of your left toes and turn them out. Plant your right hand on the floor under your shoulder. Take your left hand to your knee. Most importantly, let your hips sink down toward the ground and then twist toward your left leg. It's option one. Now when there's tension in the quadriceps and hip flexors of the back leg, it's harder to bend the leg. So lift your butt up a little bit by sort of shifting your hips back toward the rear of your mat. You might want to cheat your hand back a little further as you do that. Now if that went well, try to bend your back leg, reach back and possibly grab your foot. If that doesn't work, repeat the previous option. Now if it did work, go slow. Let your hips drop all the way back down to the earth again. Press your foot backward into the hands. And this time use some of that flexibility you developed to take a deeper back bend. Keep pressing your foot backward into the hand. If you're not grabbing your foot, just press your hand into the knee and take a back bend. And then release that one there. Plant your hands. Step back to the high push-up position. Chaturanga. The up dog. The down dog. Step your right foot forward. Same adventure on the other side. And take your back knee down to the floor. You want a pretty substantial turnout with the front foot. Doesn't have to be parallel, but just take it over as far as you can. Your right hand resting on your knee. Rotate your torso off to the right. And at first, initially, let your hips really sink. This foot grab is something to build up to for sure, but I think it usually helps to shift your hips backward to the rear of the mat to take some of the tension off the rear leg. Attempt to bend the back leg. If you can reach back there to grab your foot, get it. If you find it's a real struggle, take your hand to your knee. If you cheated your left hand back, you'll most likely want to walk it ahead again. Let your hips sink down toward the floor. Now, as you do that, slowly lift up to the front of your chest. Press your foot backward into your hand for an initial back bend. Then just keep back bending, breathing, letting your hips sink toward the floor beneath, and relaxing into the stretch. It's a big one, this. Lift your hips a bit so that as you let go of the foot, it doesn't slam down to the earth. Plant your hands down there on the floor. Step back to the four-pointed kneeling position. I'll switch my body's angle again so you can better see if necessary. I'm also going to do the mirror image. So when you're ready, roll over onto your left hip. I'm going to do my right, so it looks like we're doing the same thing. Onto your left hip. And then reorient your knees so they point over to the right. Now take your hands to the floor wider than shoulder distance. Tuck your ribs down in the front so there's no rib flare. And rotate your torso left. It's option one. If you want to go deeper, reach across, grab your wrist. Take your elbow to the floor. And rather than just squishing the arm and laying down on it, shift a bunch of your torso's weight to the right until your arm is pulled straighter. And then apply some weight. Just let your chest sink down until you get a good solid twisting. Now keep your legs as they are, press down to come up. And while we're there, take your left elbow all the way down to the floor, paralleling it to the long edge of your mat, or the front edge of your mat, depending on how you're placed. And we're setting up for a clamshell, so take your feet together and lift your uppermost knee. Drive your knee into the ground, your elbow to and lift your hips, and then reach your non-supportive arm upwards to the ceiling. Roll your tail under, squeeze your posterior, and breathe. It's always good to do a few of these clamshells at the end of a back bending practice because it helps to restabilize the joints in your lower back. And then take your hips back down, plant your hands, and then just flip your knees over for the same posture on the other side. Once your hands pretty wide, you'll probably have to experiment a bit to find your best stance. If your rib flare, it sort of inhibits the twist, so tuck your ribs down and rotate your chest right. Now, if you're gonna go for the full extravaganza, reach over and grab a hold of your wrist. And take your elbow down. Now, if you just sort of lay down on the arm, you'll get a certain degree of stretch. If you shift your weight left until the arm goes straighter, and then you lay down upon it, you get a slightly deeper stretch. Just find the depth that works the best for you and keep breathing. Press down to come up. Another round of the clamshell. Take your elbow down to the floor, parallel to the side of your mat or the front of it. With your feet together and one knee lifted, press down to the knee that's on the floor. Lift your hips off the ground and roll your tail under. Reach your arm all the way up to the roof edge. Try to squeeze your buttocks as you continue to stay there. Let your hips drop all the way back down into the floor beneath. And then one strengthener for your abdominals today. Go ahead and press up to a full seated position. All right, this is the boat. So grab a hold of the flesh of your buttocks and roll backward a little bit. Initially grab the backs of your knees, rock back and come up to the tips of your toes. And then take out rib flare by tucking down to the front of your ribs. Keep your torso stiff, rock your way back and attempt to pick up your feet. It's a great place to stay if you like. If you want to make it harder, let go and extend your arms forward. If you want to make it a little harder still, extend your legs and try not to sink that boat. Keep your ribs tucked, your knees or your legs lifted high. Stretch up to the top of your head and breathe as you hold. Ribs down on the front for a few more breaths. And then come all the way back down. At the old school cow face pose, wrap your left knee over your right knee and press your knees closer together. Draw your other foot back near your side. Pull your feet back so that your legs are nice and tight, and then rock back and forth a little bit to center your buttocks on the floor. Let your shoulders get heavy and lean into it to open your glutes. And deep, slow breaths throughout. Use an inhale to come all the way back up. Wrap your legs around in the same direction for the other side. Press your knees just a little bit closer together once you're there. Once you've drawn your feet all the way back, crazy glue your right sitting bone to the floor. Try to get your left one down as well. And fold into it again. Next up is the gaze latch. Sit all the way up, slide your right leg over to your side, and draw your left foot in. Now once you've done that, today, bend your right leg, walk your hands initially forward, and then reach across and grab a hold of your left knee with your right hand. Rotate your torso open to the side, reach your left arm straight up. Side bend toward your leg and extend out toward the foot. Now if you can reach over and grab the foot, do so. From there, try to elongate your leg a little bit or all the way. And then if possible, if you've grabbed your foot, duck your head under your arm, rotate and twist, and gaze straight upwards at the roof. If you're not quite able to bind your foot, no biggie, just reach toward it. And try to practice with a straight right leg. And use an inhale to come all the way back up. Place your left hand behind you. Rotate your chest to the left, and just gaze straight backward over your shoulder for a twist. Release the twist and switch your legs position so that the left one goes out. There's a number of ways to get into this pose, but today you might just consider bending your leg, the left one. Sometimes that helps, sometimes not. You want to get your toes higher in the air so it's easier to grab your foot. And reach across and attempt to grab your right knee with your left hand. You want to square your torso forward with this, so rotate right. And then initially just reach your arm up. Side bending to your left, reach all the way overhead towards your foot. Now if you're trying to grab the foot, it's okay to drop your right hand down toward the floor and then to reach across your midline for the attempted clasp. If that just feels horribly awkward, skip it. If you did manage to get the foot though, try to straighten your left leg completely. Might not straighten all the way for sure, so not, it's all right too. Now lean a bunch of weight back toward your left sitting bone. If you're grabbing your foot, try to duck your head under the arm, gaze upwards toward the roof. A few more really deep breaths. And use an inhale to come all the way up. Place your right hand on the floor behind you. Drop your ribs down in the front. And then rotate to the right and gaze straight backward at the rear. When you're ready, release the twist. Lay down on your back for the corpse pose and feel free to make any final adjustments necessary to make your body relatively still. Take a little bit to settle in with eyes closed. As I have grown a bit older, for me at least, the world itself has become a little more mundane. When I was a kid, it seemed to be filled with magic, and slowly it feels as though some of that magic has slipped away. Now, it's probably for that reason that I really like the idea that some magic does still exist upon the earth. And in fact, there are many cultures that believe that that is so. Say, for example, if you go to Chiang Mai in northern Thailand, they believe that tattoos can actually grant magical powers. If you go to Galicia in Spain, they believe that some people have the potentiality to actually work magic. And I think that if you study yoga traditions around the world, they oftentimes report many magical feats by yoga practitioners. And one of the magical feats that I heard about a long time ago when I first started practice was the ability to raise one's body heat through meditation to melt snow. I thought that sounded like the most amazing thing ever because I was living in a really snowy place at the time. Now, over the years, I was introduced to those practices, and I can attest to the fact that they really work. And there's two things to note. First and foremost, the mental states that arise while doing those specific practices are absolutely magical, and something that I've never experienced in another way. Physiologically speaking, though, the simple act of melting snow around one's body is not magical at all. You see, your body is around 98.5 degrees. The snow is freezing at around 32, and if you put something that is temperatured out at almost 100 degrees on something that's frozen, then at some point you're definitely going to get some melting. Now, I think when you do those particular practices where you try to melt snow around your body, the most magical thing occurs. Because as you sit there, you find out that the true magical act is to be able to sit through the discomfort required for the snow to melt. Now, when I first started practicing this, I started practicing with my feet only. And if you ever put your feet in snow or ice water, you know how painful that is. It's really, really uncomfortable. And what I found as I continued to practice is that the pain didn't necessarily go away. Now, truth be told, as you stand there, at first it actually hurts quite a lot. After a little bit, you stand there a little bit more, your feet start to adjust, and it does start to hurt a little bit less. You can still feel the ice against your skin. You can still feel your toes getting cold and sometimes even going numb, and you can really feel all the snow surrounding your feet nevertheless. Now, at some point, as you continue to stand there without moving, the snow gets a little more slippery under your feet and starts to melt, and you actually start to feel like you're making progress. And at that point, sometimes a major shift arises in your mind. You're still very uncomfortable. You can still feel the ice against your skin, but inside, internally, mentally, and emotionally, that pain just bothers you less. Now, I think sometimes in meditation practices, when we do go deeply inside, we oftentimes find that that brings up all sorts of different uncomfortable situations. All of us have physical, emotional, and mental pain. And a lot of times we're so busy that we just forget that it's there. Now, sometimes when we get really, really still and quiet for a little while, perhaps for the first time in a long time, some of those things have an opportunity to rise up because we're no longer distracted. And at that point, meditation can be really, really uncomfortable. Now, I myself have experienced this many, many times over the course of the last 20 some odd years. But I've noted that sometimes, even though meditation won't take away the discomfort, it'll help you accept it. And that, in and of itself, absolutely takes off the edge of the pain. So as you're laying there today, you might be feeling amazing, you might be feeling a little agitated, you might be feeling a little sad or depressed, or something else entirely. If you can, just try to accept whatever is there without trying to change it at all. Focus on the spots in your body that I mentioned one at a time. When your mind wanders off, redirect to the next set of points. And slowly after a little while, you also might experience that same shift that I've experienced when standing in snow. The discomforts of the body and the mind will still be there, but they'll bother you just a little bit less. So who knows, but it's a good thing to practice so we can see. Well, for now, for the moment, just redirect all of your awareness to your eyes. Now, if you can, visualize pinpoints of light in your eyes, like the light from stars. Now, not everybody's visual, so if that doesn't work for you, just focus on the sensation around your eyes instead. Use those pinpoints of light or the sensations as anchors. Just try to keep your awareness centered there. And shift awareness next to the center of your throat. For the next few moments, just keep your awareness centered there. It's odd, but sometimes if you concentrate too hard, it makes your mind wander more. So as you focus on the light or the sensation at the middle of your throat, let your concentration be light and kind of nonchalant. It's like a snowflake coming down to rest upon a snowdrift. Shift awareness to your shoulders. Pinpoints of light or the sensation that you sense there. Elbows next. Wrists. Palms of the hands. Tips of your fingers. Shift awareness to your hips. Kneecaps. Ankles. Bottoms of your feet. The tips of your toes. Right and left side of your body. The back of your body. Navel. Center of your chest. Tips of your shoulders. Back of your neck. And send awareness, much like rays of light, from your heart out to the palms of your hands. And from your heart to the bottoms of your feet. And from your heart to the base of the spine, and again upward to the top of your head. So centuries ago, a great practitioner said that when you practice going inside of yourself, you should be like melting snow. You should wash yourself of yourself. Now, as it turns out, if you can do that in meditation, if you can let go of your memories for a little bit, if you can let go of your projections of the future, all the different thoughts and concepts that you have, that will really melt away a lot of your stress. So go deeper and deeper inside of yourself to find a very peaceful place where you feel light, open, and free. Now, there are many different gateways to that place, but I think working with the breath is one of the best gateways. There's a decided correlation between your breathing and your thinking, and when you slow down your breathing, it can help you to slow down or even cut through your thinking. So today, breathe normally and naturally. There's no need to deepen your breath at all. Instead, at the end of every exhale, pause for about 5 or 6 seconds until it becomes slightly uncomfortable. Take a normal inhale and exhale. After you've done that, pause again. After another normal inhale and exhale, pause again, and just keep pausing at the end of every exhale. If 5 or 6 seconds is not challenging, you can make it a longer duration in the pause. But every time you pause, relax mentally and physically. Let your thoughts, your concepts, anything that might disturb your concentration melt like melting snow, washing itself of itself. If your body is adjusting and you're able to hold out just a little while longer, try. If that's too much, though, maintain the breath ratio that you've got. If your mind has wandered, just redirect it back to your breath to finish on a strong note. And relax your mind. When you feel ready, roll all the way over to one side. With both eyes closed, press back to a seated and cross-legged posture of some type. And then sit tall, join your hands together in a prayer at your chest. Take a moment to remember the person you dedicated all this effort to. Now, pray for or wish for their happiness and health. Maybe just center some good energy mentally. Take a moment to be thankful for another day. And if you wish, repeat after me. May all sentient beings everywhere experience peace.